Katie Volkmar from Erie, Colorado, and she's participating in our next installment of our Teacher Voices series. Katie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Katie, and I teach high school English at Erie High School, which is in the Vrain Valley School District. And I've been using Athena in my classroom for about a year, and I've found it to be a really valuable tool.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so to go ahead and dive into our questions here. First up, what did you think about using video before you started using Edthena? Were you nervous about filming yourself in the classroom at all? And did you think that recording and uploading might be difficult?
I was a little nervous for two reasons, both of which you just mentioned. I was a little nervous about what it might feel like to feel as though I were on camera, and just kind of have to cringe at the sound of my own voice when I watched my playback. So I was a little nervous about how that might feel and whether it might affect my interactions with students or anything. And then the other thing I was a little nervous about too was also the uploading, because I'm an English teacher and we aren't always the most technologically advanced of all educators. So I was nervous that I might not be able to figure it out. But lo and behold, it was actually very, very simple to upload, and that was great for me. And I found that kind of once I got over a little bit of that initial nervousness about being filmed, it was an incredibly useful tool. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for that. Great. So next question, and it sort of seems like you answered this a little bit in your previous answer, but are there any other ways that your assumptions about video and about using Edthena were challenged when you started using the platform?
Well, I think I was just really impressed by how dynamic of a platform it was, in the sense that I had a bit of a teacher cohort with a group of other teachers, and we all had a teacher coach in common. And we were able to upload our video onto the Athena site and then watch snippets of each other's videos where we could pose questions to other teachers in the cohorts and say, okay, watch this part right here, and you can see how I handled this situation. You know, would you have handled it differently? Or what pointers do you have, or things like that. And so it really gave us this opportunity to almost be inside each other's classrooms, but in a very time-efficient manner. Rather than going around and sitting through 6 different class periods in other teachers' classrooms, we could pull 10 minutes of what we thought was the most useful piece of the video to watch, and then comment and give each other advice and feedback based on that. So.
Yeah, and so it sounds like it was useful being able to use Athena to see your colleagues' classrooms without having to sacrifice any learning time in your own classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Or even planning and prep time, which is always, always, always
right.
Something that's at a premium and is something that never seems to be enough. So it was really helpful in that respect. And I think I wasn't anticipating it being so dynamic in that sense too. I thought, well, maybe the district just wants to see what I'm doing in my classroom, and it's a way of kind of checking up on me. But it was a far more valuable and dynamic again, but just full tool than I had anticipated. So.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Great. So tied into that, is there one moment maybe in particular that you can pinpoint when you realized that video was going to be high impact for your development as an educator?
Yeah. I remember feeling a little challenged by a couple of classroom management things and with a couple of particular students, and I found that first of all, by using the video, I was able to get an exact record of kind of what took place in my classroom. Because even if you take a moment just after class to kind of reflect on what just took place in your classroom, having an actual video record is so helpful and so much more useful than that, in that you can revisit it, you can sit on it for a few days and think about it and process kind of internally, and then go back and review and watch something where you might be thinking, okay, how did I do trying to engage this kid who's kind of permanently checked out? What can I do here, and how can I change my interactions or even my body language that would be effective for this student? So that was huge for me. And then the other thing too is just that it's hard to be, you know, in a classroom of like 30 or so, give or take, kids. It's hard to be in every place at all times. And so the video almost acted like another set of eyes for me in the room. And that was great too, because when I went back and watched that, I could say, oh, I didn't realize these two kids were being so productive. That's so great. Or, oh, I didn't realize that these two kids were maybe a little off task and I needed to check in with them more than I did. So that was really, really helpful for me too, in terms of thinking about how I would process my reflection after teaching and going back and getting back into the room the next day. So
yeah, it sounds like it's helpful making that reflection process more evidence-based and grounded in your classroom noticings.
Yeah, and I think that just goes right along with the kind of data-driven focus and emphasis that so many schools and districts have nowadays, and for good reason. Let's really look at actual data and evidence and use that to be our guides. So absolutely.
Right. No, totally. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. How would you describe Edthena to a teacher who's never used it before?
I think I would first want to tell that teacher that it's not something to be intimidated by, and that it's something that's a really powerful tool and useful tool in terms of your own teaching. And the other thing I would really want to emphasize is just how great it is for collaboration with other teachers. That's something I touched on a little earlier, but this idea of, oh, I'd love to see 10 minutes in your classroom and you can watch 10 minutes in my classroom and then we can talk about it and compare ideas. And that was valuable to me within my subject matter, across subject matters, with different kids, and even with teachers who had some of the same kids I had. And so that whole ability, just the idea that it's another way of kind of sharing ideas with other teachers and engaging in professional discourse that way, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think it's super useful because teachers might not see the tool as more collaboration based like that, and it might be something, oh, I can use video to reflect, but maybe they don't realize that they can also use it for that collaboration piece.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And that's personally one of my favorite parts of being involved in education and in schools. I love working with my colleagues and sharing ideas, because I think it just makes us all better teachers and gives us new ways to come in and approach a student in a classroom. So
Totally. Well, I think that's a great place to stop. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the world?
No, thank you so much for this opportunity. And yeah, this has been a great conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Bye.